Hello, hello. When I made my New Mexico commentary, one of the commenters said they had seen me playing some Taiho. Since I want to get all the T10 ships, I already have the midway, so I'm going for the Hakuria. And he asked if I would make a carrier commentary. I asked if people wanted to see one, and it got a bunch of upvotes with people really wanting to see a CV commentary from me. So I decided to make one on my Taiho. The first thing you see me do is, first of all, I'm running the strike spec, so to say, that I have 3 torpedo bombers. The first thing I do is unload them. Then I follow it up by unloading my fighters. The reason why I want my torpedo bombers out first, if there's some DD who's rushing one of these caps, since this is domination, you can do all sorts of nasty cross drops and such things with triple torpedo bombers. It makes it very hard for the DD to avoid your torps when you're basically torping from every direction. And even if you don't kill him, you will most likely discourage him from going for the cap. He'll probably smoke up, leave, try to flee, whatever. The reason why the fighters come next is obviously if the enemy sends his fighters out first, you want your fighters to be out to be able to defend them. So I sent one fighter south to scout and one fighter with my torpedo bombers to support them. You have to look at the minimap a lot to basically get an idea of how my planes are going, since I do issue a bunch of commands on the minimap as well. So once again, I'm scouting for C. Other guy sent his fighters straight through the enemy fleet. Okay, my torpedo bombers found his torpedo bombers, which obviously means I'm redirecting both my fighter planes to this area. The other fighter plane has a long way to go. Okay, I found his fighter plane as well, as you see on the minimap. So I'm instantly pulling my torpedo bombers back, since I don't want them to die to him. This is obviously the SX loadout. He's running the strike loadout. 2 bombers, 2 torpedo bombers, and 1 fighter. So at this point I'm pulling my fighters back until my other fighter gets closer. And I'm spreading out. You see I'm spreading out my torpedo bombers in different directions. So in case he goes for a barrage, there's no risk of him hitting them all. At this point I turn around and engage him, because he was getting very close to be able to barrage a bunch of my planes, and I have my other fighter coming in very close. Now that he's occupied, my fighter is occupying his fighter, I pull all my attacking craft to attack. Meanwhile, I pull my other fighter. Instead of engaging his fighters that are already occupied, I now use the barrage skill, which you get by holding Alt, and I focus down his torpedo bombers, which are the biggest threat. The barrage skill is brutal, as you can see. I instantly queue up another barrage skill. If you do it right at the end, you can queue up a second one straight after. That shut down all his planes. All 6 of his torpedo bombers and all 6 of his bombers were shot down. And now I cross-drop this Fubuki. I drop 1 drop from behind him and the other one straight from the side. This makes it very awkward for him to avoid, because if he tries to turn, he'll hit the torps behind him. But if he keeps going straight, he'll hit the torps from the side. This is a classic cross-drop, which will hit him no matter what. And that Fubuki who tried to go for C is now destroyed. All my other planes are now going back to refuel, except for 1 torpedo bomber and 2 normal bombers. These 2 still have some huge potential of dealing damage. Namely, you can cause flooding with torpedo bombers, then when he repairs, you can set fires and so forth. So I'm looking to see for some good targets. I'm looking at the Kagero or the Tirpitz. It depends on what this Kagero will do. Seeing as he's moving quite slowly in the smoke, I'm actually going to focus him instead. I leave the 2 bombers outside and go in with my torpedo bomber first. I think the Kagero hasn't noticed me, since he's focusing on the planes being shot down by the Pensacola. So I go for the very close side drop. Yes, he's turning now, he saw them now, but I think he saw them a bit too late. He's trying to turn, but he's probably going to eat 1 at least. Yeah, he ate 1. I didn't get any flooding, but it was that his engine that broke, so he's probably going to use his repair now. Or actually it's a Kagero, so he probably has last stand. I'm not certain if repair has been used or not. Sending back my torpedo bombers, I accidentally queued them for another command, so they were just hovering here. Now I'm trying, basically, first of all I'm keeping him detected for my entire fleet. He's used his smoke, he had it, if you saw it earlier on the minimap, his smoke was down, so there is no way he can smoke up again, so he's basically at my mercy. That's why I'm keeping my planes around. This was a normal drop, not a manual drop, and I didn't do as much damage as I wanted, so now I'm lining up for the perfect manual drop. It's much smaller and much more accurate, but you have to land it perfectly to get the most out of it. So now I'm timing it perfectly, and I got the manual drop with 2 hits, and I destroyed the Kagero as well. I selected this game for the commentary because I'm not basically farming damage in this game. I'm not going for torpedo runs on the battleships to pump up that huge 200k damage that I can put up in the title. But I'm playing my Taiho as I usually do it, basically to get the win and get the most XP for myself, since I'm trying to get to the Hakuryu. So destroying two DDs and basically preventing the Essex from getting anything done were the key points that I've so far achieved. We managed to prevent them from capping, or well, I managed to prevent them from capping B, and we have captured C, and my team is now pushing quite hard from this side. So obviously, unlike the Essex that's sitting very far back, I'm constantly maneuvering with the fleet. I try to keep basically my friendly fleet between me and the enemy fleet. So DDs have a hard time getting to me, and any planes that try to attack my Taiho have to fly through my fleet. The Essex is playing far too passive. The downside of playing like the Essex does is also that his planes have to fly a much longer way to get back to the carrier. Once again, a manual drop on the North Carolina. Last minute readjustment to get more hits. You have to be careful with that. I had a really hard time when I started playing carriers again of getting my readjustments down because I kept adjusting it too late since they've changed the timer. In the past when I played you could readjust like much more frequently, but they've narrowed down the timing window on when you can readjust, so making it a lot harder. Now I got a bunch of hits on the North Carolina, so I'm obviously going to keep harassing him. I think it was there flooding? Pretty sure there was a flooding, and he repaired, or I broke something that usually happens with torps. So I'm obviously going to keep harassing him now. But as you can see, he has two fighters there, so I'm sending my fighter there. Obviously he's not paying as much attention to the minimap as I am, so I'm using this moment to win myself this air battle with one squad against two. I used my barrage on one of those fighters, and then I attacked the other one. So now he's very limited in what his fighters can do. Even if he reacts in time, it will still be quite late. And while that is going on, I first manual torp dropped the North Carolina. I send my other fighter to engage his other fighter, and then I used my torpedo bombers to manual drop him. Or bombers to manual drop him. And now I got a flooding and a fire on him, and I'm pretty sure his repair is on cooldown. No, he repaired, so I'm just going to secure the kill with another manual drop. There we go, 3 hits with a manual drop, and I secured the kill. Now once again I got a bunch of my squads heading back, but I also got a few that have reloaded. This is what I like with the Hakuryu, where like playing the Hakuryu, or sorry, the Taiho over the Essex or the Midway, is that when you have so many squads, there's constantly something to do because your squads are never perfectly synced up. Whereas with the Midway and the Essex, it's kind of like you send out your squads and then you have to wait for them to come back and reload, and then you send them out again and you do massive damage, and then you have to wait for them again. It's like you have so few squads, it's kind of boring. But with this Taiho and with Hakuryu, I assume there's always something to do, always something to like control and micromanage and so forth, which is something I enjoy. I hate boring gameplay. So this is probably, compared to the Essex, I'm actually enjoying the Taiho a lot more. I think it's a lot more fun to play. Now it looks like they have an AFK Colorado, which is unfortunate for them. They still have the points lead though, because they absolutely decimated our guys down at A. And even though we have 2 caps, actually they still have the points lead. Now our Essex has finally realized that he should stay with the fleet, so he's pushed up with us. The Taiho, I'm not exactly certain what the Taiho is doing right now. Yeah, so they're raging in chat now for some reason. I guess they had some tactic and not everyone followed the tactic, but that's not exactly surprising. I mean, I can't get people to follow my tactics in ranked, in like rank 5s to 1. What do they expect in random battles? There's no way people are going to follow the tactics in this shit. I'm going to put a flooding on this Colorado just in case, because if this guy comes back, he can be quite a threat, considering the guys pushing up are Atlantis and Kutuzovs. So if this Colorado set decides to suddenly come back, he can absolutely wreck those guys. So I'm sending one. You notice that I sent a manual drop from really far away. That way the torps have time to converge before they hit him. I'm doing the same thing to this Taiho because he's edge humping, but he's been doing it for so long now that he's lost so much engine speed that he's basically barely moving anymore. In fact, I don't know, has this guy given up? He lost a bunch of his planes at the start. I don't know. The S6 looks like he's going for me. In fact, I'm almost certain the S6 is targeting me right now, so I'm turning my ship towards the planes. I'm trying to get one of my fighter squads up in the air as quick as possible. Okay, this S6 is also deciding to go for the Colorado. Yeah, this can be a bit iffy. Wow, I got a bit unlucky there, but okay, I shot down 4, so that probably already, I already know that I can't die. I'm gonna see if I can shoot down some more. Now, okay, this time he understood to dodge it, but by dodging it, he also gave my Taiho anti-air more time to shoot him down. Now I already know that there's no way he can, now I already know there's absolutely no way he can kill me anymore. The S6 has no chance of killing me. I already got another fighter squad up, so he has to use his bombing run. He can't wait for me to repair and then bomb. So I can just calmly repair now, and well, he got me to half HP, but a half HP carrier is just as effective as a full HP carrier, so it doesn't really matter. Now I noticed something a bit worrying on the minimap. The Pensacola is charging me, so while I try to make sure that this S6 gets killed, I'm gonna set the fire on him so he forces repair, so he can't take off any planes unless he uses his repair. Did he repair? His HP... Yeah, his HP stopped ticking down, he used his repair, so now obviously want another fire in him. Same concept that you use on battleships, you wait until repair is done and then you put another fire. Okay, his fighter is engaging me, so I pull back. The threat of those bombers will still be there, making him nervous and forcing him to commit the fighters to counter them. There's no reason to lose those bombers now, they can just hover around near him. Okay, he disengaged his fighters, which means I'm sending this guy to engage him again while I focus on the Pensacola that's already shooting at me. This Pensacola is screwed. He should have... He activated his AA too late. You saw he activated there, but he didn't have time to properly spread out the bombs. He's very much dead. Got my Confederate there, caused the flooding. Someone else finished the kill. Okay, this guy died as well. I'm gonna see if I can just farm some plane kills there with my fighter before I send him back. Okay, there's another Fubuki after me, but he's moving very slow. I don't think he meant to glide out of that smoke. I think it might have been an accident. He's trying to accelerate now, but I'm gonna land at least one torp on him because of this. Yep, that's a torpedo, and the S6 is bombing him. Oh, the S6 didn't use manual drop for some reason, so he missed everything. That was a good chance to use manual drop when he was moving that slow. It would have been a very easy manual drop, and A6 bombers hit like a truck, so oh well. People are pretty iffy about using manual drops on bombers for some reason, probably because they're not that easy to hit, so they prefer to go for the RNG normal drop or auto drop. That guy is dead, by the way. There's no way he can avoid my torp drop. That wasn't a very good Fubuki. I didn't even need to cross drop him, so that was an easy Kraken. And it looks like this Tirpitz is about to die. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing this Tirpitz can do. Yep, he's dead. And that was the end of a pretty short game, honestly. I feel like I didn't have much time to do much, but most of my actions at the start, deleting their bombers and deleting their DDs, kind of secured us the win. I got a bunch of money and XP, and you can see 54 planes shut down in the end. So, honestly quite a comfortable win. I don't think my damage is anything special. My damage is 140k, a bit more than 140k I guess, like 142, 141. It doesn't really matter. This game wasn't about damage, it was more about demonstrating how to win with the Taiho. Anyway, as usual, I'll be moving on to the upgrades. Alright, let's move right on to modules. Oh, this was the flags for the game. Since it was my first game today, so got a lot of my daily flags from that game. Anyway, module wise, I started by getting the Type 2 mod, simply because I wanted the additional Torp squad for the, basically more versatility, more attack power. I didn't feel like I needed the extra fighter squad, so I just went for the more damage basically. Next I went for Torpedo Bomber HP, because once again they're your bread and butter damage right now. I don't know how it will be next patch, but currently Torpedo Bombers are your go-to damage dealers. Next I went for the fighters, because once again you want the additional DPM, you want the additional survivability, or DPS in this case. So I went for the fighter upgrade, then I went for the bomb upgrade, and finally I went for the hull upgrade, because in this case the hull upgrade doesn't give me extra hanger or anything, it just gave me better anti-air and a bit more HP, I think. Those were the two things. So that was my last upgrade that I actually went for. Upgrade wise, the first one I have is aircraft gun effectiveness. Basically, well, you want your fighters to be able to win their fights, so that's pretty straightforward. Second, I have fighter survivability. Once again, you want your fighters, if you're constantly going to be facing carriers anyways. Like, that's how matchmaking works now. You always face a carrier of your own tier. So being able to win the fighter battle is quite important, especially with this spec, as I only run 2 fighters. So I want those 2 fighter squads to be as strong as possible. The other option would of course be aircraft servicing time, but honestly I prefer to have this one, since I feel like you can still run out of planes quite easily if you get too aggressive, or too, basically, you charge too foolishly into a bunch of cruisers and shit, and then you end up losing a bunch of squads and suddenly you're out of planes. It does happen, so I've definitely preferred fighter survivability. And this one is, in my opinion, the best upgrade for carriers everywhere. This is what makes T9 and T10 carriers so incredibly powerful, is this upgrade here that gives you 15% HP basically to both your bombers and your torpedo squads, which are your bread and butter damage dealers. So this is by far the best one here. None of these others even come close. This is just very straightforward. Here I have damage control, reduce the risk of fire basically. If you get targeted by another carrier, the other 2 are pointless. And here there could be some argument that taking steering gears would be, again, it's a bit like playing on a battleship, but personally I prefer taking the damage control system, because even if you have the steering gear upgrade, you're not going to dodge bombers that are going for you. If you don't have anything to harass them, bombers are going to hit you and you're going to get set on fire, so I prefer to actually reduce that firing time. Also, you're not going to be avoiding shells from guys that can shoot at you, because you're such an easy target to hit. So I prefer this one. Some others might argue for the steering gears. I think it's a bit up to you, but I think damage control is simply better. This one is very straightforward. What the hell do you do with target acquisition? Absolutely nothing. You want concealment. Captain perks wise, I have a 16-point captain here. Obviously the first one I went for is situation awareness. Whereas basic survivability is fantastic, once again, because it reduces your fires by 15%. So if your repair is on cooldown, or the enemy is hovering bombers near you and you have to wait it out, you can't use your repair, then this one is fantastic for reducing your damage. So both these tier 1 skills are very, very powerful. But I prefer to get this one first, because this will help you so much to let you know if you're detected suddenly. That way you know there's a DD somewhere close to you, and that usually saves your life. Or, well, every time there's a DD close to you, that pretty much saves your life, since it lets you know you need to turn quickly and scout your surroundings. This one is very straightforward. You want to be faster at servicing your torpedo bombers, so you can send them out again. No other perk is even close to that importance. Once again, very straightforward. You want to be able to repair any fires or flooding you get. Mostly fires though, since you can't take off planes if you have fires. None of these others even come close. This one is pretty much completely useless, because matchmaking matches you up against your own tier carrier. So what's the point of using dogfighting expert when you're constantly going to be facing the same tier, and this one only works if you're higher or lower tier. And fourth perk, once again, very straightforward. Survivability and servicing time, both fantastic perks, that both things you want. And finally, air supremacy, which is stronger for Japanese carriers than it is for American carriers, but still a must-have for both of them. 1 additional fighter and 1 additional bomber per squad. And especially with this build, where I only have 2 bomber squads and 2 fighter squads, getting that extra strength to them is very, very important. Anyway, this was probably the first carrier commentary I've ever done. Like, I play all the ships in the game, but I don't really make commentaries of carriers that often. But if you guys want to see more carrier commentaries in the future, just leave a comment. Anyway, that was my Taiho commentary.